G'day, welcome, Mailbag Preview Show, episode 299. This week's edition sees the A-Team regroup, the original, the OGs, Pistol Pete and Robertos Rob Scurry, joined also by one-time intern, long-time team man, J.O.N.O the racing manager at Mailbag Bloodstock. This week's episode, like everything I've ever done, is brought to you by Punting Form. puntingform.com.au. It's a racing database that I use and couldn't operate without. I know Pistol's the same, and should Rob ever delve into the numbers, it's where he'd start. But at the moment, they're still whispering to him, so he's sweet. And John loves it. He's a big jockey stats man. Apparently, the Poon Train's returning to Queensland, and he's very, very excited about it. On this week's show, it's going to be shorter and sharper in regard to race previews. We've got two in-depth analysis for you. The Doomben 10,000 up there on a rain-soaked Doomben track, and also race 4, the K.A Morrison Handicap at Flemington. We've picked that race because there's two white Kiwis returning, and we've got one of our own, so we thought he could flare up a little bit and show some of his punting muscle. G'day guys, Pantoja is the latest English digital purchase for the Mailbag. We identified this horse as potential and put him on our list, and he ticked all the boxes. He passed all the tests, and he looks extremely good value to me. I was happy to pay sort of north of 50 for him. Obviously an incredible pedigree and a famous page, but more than that, he's a lightly raced young horse with upside. We change that environment, we change his jurisdiction, and we make him very, very easy to place. I'm really confident that you'll get a return on investment with Pantoja. He heads to Michael Hickmont, who has his own private training facility, a much more rural setting than this horse would have been used to.
G'day guys, just a quick note regarding Pantoja. Thank you for the opportunity to train him, and he's a horse that I'm going to welcome into the stable with open arms. Luckily, I am good friends with Clayton Douglas, his previous trainer, who's certainly given the horse a really good glowing recommendation to head this way. I think he's a horse that profiles perfectly for the South Australian grading of racing. The program that we race in under here sees horses like this fit in really well, and they can race consistently on Saturdays. Chatting with Clayton, I think that certainly how we train at our private training facility here will certainly suit him, and I can see a lot of upside in him. So he's a very unexposed horse with a big pedigree. Certainly has been purchased at really, really good value. I think placed correctly, we can have a lot of fun with him, and heading forward looks to be a really, really nice addition to the stable. So thank you once again, and look forward to plenty of fun heading forward with him.
He doesn't need to necessarily improve to be a hell of a lot of fun and a sound investment, but I think he will. We can place him better, we can ride him better, and we can expect a return. Really, really excited to welcome Pantoja, the half 2 Giga kick, into the Mailbag Bloodstock Silks and Stable. To find out more, email back or get in touch with J.O.N.O at themailbag.com.au. Bye for now. Boys, how we been? What's news? We'll start with you, Pistol Pete, Hutcho. I thought a glorious throwback yesterday. Maybe 7 out, maybe 17 back. Pinjarra, if you don't mind, on a Wednesday with a little bit of flair work also at Bendigo. He's a very, very busy man. We're very lucky to have him. Peter, how's it going?
It was good in the last, wasn't it? We've got a new sort of cult hero there in WA. Rocky Chung got the job done on Chop Suey, and I think Macca might have made allusion to the fact that he might have known a little bit more about Chop Suey than most of the other jockeys. Anyway, we won't go there. Yeah. I don't know. It's, WA's been WA. It was good to get away from, not good to get away from Ascot. It's been a very good track to us for the best part of the season, but the last month was a little bit difficult to cop, starting with the Quokka, which Hal Headwall didn't win, I'll never know. Got run over by Joker's Grin, which I'll get over in about 2.5 years. It's usual sort of stuff. Back on course at Flemington this weekend, and it's a great meeting. My bin at the 200, hopefully no one's desecrated it, because I'll be hiding behind it, needing to take shelter from 12-degree winds and also 12 mils of rain. So can't wait, Dickens. Can't wait.
Should you want Peters mounting our mail from Flemington, which he should, or a set staking plan, quaddie, etc. at Belmont on Saturday, which he's extremely excited to get back to Belmont. He's been itching to get back there. Finally, the calendar's switched and we're back to Belmont. The mailbag.com.au. Go to products, you'll find it. How many layers, Peter, are we contemplating will be required on Saturday at Flemington? The forecast is starting to get grimmer by the hour.
Yeah, I'll be triple layering. That's all I got. I was trying to pull out a pun there at some point. I was contemplating cutting my hair off though, Dickens, which I'm just going to leave for now because the extra warmth just around the scone. You don't want to be losing that at this time of year. Fuck, it's grim out there.
Triple layering. Thought for a second we're going to start talking about Rob's first footy trip. What's up for you this weekend, Rob? You're not headed to Scone, I doubt.
No on course for me on Saturday, and had a first ever emergency off course. First day of kids by myself. The kids at home sick, and I've got to leave Kenzo. So punters got stiffed a little bit by me yesterday, and now I'm not going to Scone. So, I can't talk myself up too much, mate.
Whilst you were there yesterday, did you cop any sort of propaganda about the potential sale of the ATC, or do they just sort of leave you alone to punt?
No one canvassing on track. They Kirsten over the PA instead. But I would have been happy to talk to anyone from the ATC. If I was to talk to anyone, I think it would be that relations manager, Jack, that you know. He seems like a lovely bloke. Man. And Greg maybe.
Yep.
ATC responded to Julie Ritchie with, said everything that they said was wrong. And, we got a New Haven Park owner saying it's a good idea to sell Rosehill. I'm sort of maybe voting against my interest because, Randwick more often than Rosehill would kind of suit me. But, I don't think it's a great idea to sell the farm. It's kind of proving that they've admitted that the revenue's declining in terms of punting, but they're all that. Yeah, I just think that's to do with their policies towards punting, and that stems from one great man who's master of two codes. He doesn't seem to have much for the punters. He doesn't have much respect for it as something to do. He sees it a bit like poker machines, I think.
Allegedly, it wouldn't. Like the grimness of the potential lack of turnover, which is potentially allegedly encouraging them to need to sell assets to like John Howard style, strengthen up the books and show good fiscal management. I wish Butch was here. It doesn't seem to be having an effect on the breeding industry, John. We saw some significant amounts paid for race mares becoming brood mares last week. And one in particular was of big interest to us. We were lucky enough to secure is it a half?
It is.
A half brother to Tis Invincible by Acclaim at this year's Magic Millions that is being trained by Kieran Maher. Broken in really well, beautiful colt, really good value. We have 5% available on that horse. If you'd like to get involved, email J.O.N.O, J-O-N-O at themailbag.com.au. What did Tis Invincible bring at that sale, John?
2.8 million. So sat equal third there with Estrella. Only beaten by Bella Nipotina and Amelia's Jewel, who went for 4.2 and 3.8 respectively. So there's plenty of money around for the well-proven broodmares.
Big sale then for Kieran, eh?
Yep. They Kieran Maher Bloodstock also bought Two Down Lizzie for 2.4. So
they've also bought a few over in the UK or somewhere in Europe this week. Is there another relation you mentioned before the show that I've forgotten what you said, but there's another relation that's relevant to our colt?
Yep, so Navy Pilot, who's also the half to our colt, it's a full brother to Tis Invincible, is racing at Doomben on Saturday in the Spirit of Boom Classic, race 5 there. It's currently the JJ Atkins favourite, so sort of a stepping stone towards that. I saw, was it the Good Horse or a big winner on the weekend, Beedman, was possibly going to that race, but has been sent to the spelling paddock instead. So gives our sibling there a better chance.
So it's a very exciting sort of patch for us with this colt. Rob, when you take off your punter's hat and put on your Bloodstock one, it seems like we might have done all right.
No, I don't know why you'd be wanting to sell that. If you can hold it, it just seems like you bought it too cheap, really.
Well, it's a little bit like, why would you sell Rosehill?
Yes.
Can't hold them all. We probably will end up holding a little bit of it, no doubt. There's probably a little bit more than what I said available. I sort of was holding a little bit, but see what the interest is like. If you are interested and want to find out more, again, J.O.N.O, J-O-N-O @themailbag.com.au. Briefly, quickly, before we get to the we're going to roll over the AFL, and we will. But J.O.N.O, just quickly update everyone. The 10K challenge, where we're at, how the knees, what's the process in managing and maintaining those pins, and have you put away enough money to buy the ring for the big American trip?
For the running, I did a little interval session this morning.
How cold was it this morning when you go running?
It wasn't actually too bad.
Gloves?
No gloves. No gloves. No. I did an interval, but I did it on grass, and the grass was a little bit wet, and it felt like I was really trying hard. I thought I was going faster than when I, picked up the phone at the end and looked at the splits. I wasn't going as fast, which was pretty disappointing.
I don't know, you're talking to three blokes that haven't exercised since about 2019. And the big trip, how far away is it?
Late August 23rd, I think, take off.
Have you got everything you need for that trip?
We haven't actually booked much. I know what you're referring to.
Where are you going to hide it?
We've got the Yankees game and the trip to Saratoga Springs Racecourse already booked, so those two are important to me. That'll do.
All right. Before we start onto the ponies, the AFL pistol, big Kangaroos, man. Last week was, I think, enjoyable. From your point of view, what was it?
Oh, it was definitely, they were the winners of the draw, if that makes sense. But that's 2 weeks in a row they definitely should have won, and probably 3 weeks in a row they should have. And then suddenly you go back and reflect on some of the absolute nonsense, just the dribble you get in the media these days, of people just like attacking the team. Like, I know it's, if they did, it's a big if, but if they had won those 3 games in a row, they've suddenly won 4 for the year. That's pretty good for a team that's basically considered going to be finishing in the bottom 2, or the bottom 3. I think they're going fine. Like, it's just going to click at some point. They've got too many good young kids. Tristan Sherry is clearly my favourite player, and just the way he monsters other ruckmen is just a sight to behold. It's so good. He completely destroyed the Big O last week. He took Max Gawn apart when they belted Melbourne. He's just an absolute jet, and he's so much fun to watch as a Roos fan. So I don't know who's going better at the moment, North or Sydney. Like, ignoring the latter position, but I'm probably having a better time.
Which list would you rather have?
Give them a couple. They'll be fine in a couple of years.
I love the big boys, one down back and one down forward for North. I'd love to pinch one or both. The aggressive inside kick he took late in the game against the Lions was brave after yet another intercept mark. What's his name again?
Charlie Comben.
Yeah, very, very good.
It does look
where
like.
Are you at? You back on the poker machine, loving family club at Hawthorn, or are we still talking about the doggies?
Looking maybe Darwin tonight. The doggies went up. I think it was an even money game last week. Gold Coast managed to keep their record intact, and Hawthorn are starting outsiders tonight. That'll be good enough for me, cheering them on and being outsiders. Small forwards in that greasy, dewy conditions. Jack Gunston's obviously overachieving. We don't seem to have a centre half forward, but Hardwick or someone. So Chol got big Marbior. He's only going to make a contest, and with those small forwards sniffing around, I think they're probably even money bet. Just too classy. I know the Gold Coast are on the up, but Hawthorn are one of the better teams of the competition. I think it's fair to say.
Fair. All right, racing. Let's head to Queensland. The Doomben 10,000. What a race it is.
It is a great race. Impala ran second to Apache Cat, I think, in about 2008. I was on Impala, and he was one of my favourite horses from Newcastle.
Go on.
Dale Spriggs rode him, I think, up there. He ended up winning a Scone Cup, which ties in nicely over 1600. But he was a 1,000-metre horse, so he's a brave front runner. And Dale Atkins up there in Newcastle does a good job. I think he got lucky early with a Caulfield Cup winner, maybe even in the late 80s. But he's got Primitivo going around at the moment. But yeah, he's a good Newcastle trainer. He had a horse called Impaler, ridden by Dale Spriggs, and it's one of those horses my old man found as a sort of a Class 1, Class 2, and just back at every start kind of boy, Proper horse. I think 1,000 up to 1,600. It's at the top, at high level. It's hard to have that sort of record. So obviously second in a way.
Percent. All right. Doomben 10,000. Race 8 at Doomben. There's a significant amount of rain predicted tomorrow, guys, so it's already a heavy 8. You'd have to anticipate we're talking about a heavy 8 or worse come the jump. I tried to map this race, Peter, and I've got to say that they're not really Queensland horses, so there's no excuse. It was very tough to map this race. Sunshine in Paris, Lady Laguna, I don't know what they're going to do from wide draws, but they've got the two best riders on them. Rothfire, Mazu, very wide draws but good speed. Swartz goes from completely blessed. Every god that they've ever invented, decided that yes, the last start was the day for that horse, and they didn't take the tip and send it to stud. They've gone around again, and I don't know if it'll lower its fee after what happens to it on Saturday or not, but I would have taken it and run. I got Overpass and Zarasto leading. Belclair, Hidden Wealth, nice runs. Desert Lightning for PG Moody. Jettabel for Scurry. Benedetta, J. Sticks, Golden Mile thereabouts. I think V8 and Payline have to go back, but I thought it was a really tricky map, and it looks at this stage without scratchings, Peter, to be a high pressure Doomben 10,000.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I guess that's probably the key thing. Like you mentioned, it's probably almost certainly going to be a heavy 8 plus. There doesn't look to be too much rain forecast during the day, but there's only light winds as well. So although the track might be drying to some extent, I'm still relatively happy with the fact that they should be able to make a bit of ground. If it is a significantly drying track, it wouldn't surprise that it's favouring rails and runs. So I just want to have a look at a few races early and see what it's doing. But I completely agree with what you said. I think with Sunshine in Paris and Lady Laguna, I think they'd be favourite to just try and sit back worse in midfield and just let it all unfold, because there's just so much speed up front that whether or not that speed's maintained or if they slow down in the middle of the race, I think either way that will suit those horses just taking the sit and just letting them find their feet early and then building from the turn into the race. So yeah, I was looking at the on-speed horses and immediately taking a set against them, or at least trying to work out which of those will be vulnerable late. And I think there's a fair bit of vulnerability just looking at them.
I think also, like with Sunshine in Paris and Lady Laguna, they have to take their medicine, and then you can just feel better about swallowing it because of this speed map.
Yep.
How'd you see the race?
Good to see, a WA horse making the trip across in Overpass. So, look, he had absolutely every chance there in the quokka and failed as an even money chance. Let's be honest there. His second up record isn't fantastic, so I don't know how much you read into that, but he did come off with the big PB first up, so maybe he's just flattened for the whole preparation, and he's 0 from 4 on heavy. So although he's got that little TJ SP profile going back, I just don't know how much you can trust him on a heavy track. So immediately I'm looking at him and thinking, well, that's a little bit of weakness in the market, and that seems to be the drift early on as well. He's sort of opened up around that, low 4s, and he's now 5.5, and probably will jump, I would say, 8, 9, 10.
Do you think he definitely runs if it is bottomless?
I don't know. I'm not convinced. That's a good point. I've got him racing regardless, but who knows? If he's in town, they probably have to, I guess, don't they?
I thought he was massive unders. The reverse golden inside to out, or it's just a bad draw, and he doesn't want heavy ground, and he's going to get high pressure. So there's just three things that go against him, and his price it's going to suit him.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Who have we got second in the market? Well, there's been some early support for Benedetta, and I can kind of understand that to a certain degree. Not suited last start. Jamie Sticks had the tick over trial in between. Blinkers are back on. Form seems to be pretty decent around her. Just never seen heavy, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. But I guess looking at the speed map, probably is going to get a nice enough run, but will probably also have J-Mac on the outside of her. And I'm looking at Sunshine Paris and thinking there's more versatility there. I like the drop from 14 back to 12. She's got the all-aged and the Darley Sprint SP. J-Max back on board. Blinker's first time is just like a little extra factor to throw in there. But I think her figures overall, the way that she's profiling for this, and I went back and had a look at her 2 runs on heavy previously. One of them was on that bottomless track that Magic Time won, and that's just like a complete forgive because that was a heavy 15. The other one, she's beaten within basically a length or so coming from last and when she wasn't suited. So, look, Sunshine Paris is the horse.
The other run for Benedetta is the Swartz Group 1 on that Moonee Valley track that they're calling soft. And it was a really yucky track. So I think you got to have a bit of flexibility and be fluid in reading that track. And, you know, should she get through the ground, you go, that was a pretty heavy track at Moonee Valley, you know?
Yeah, which is fair enough. It's just one of those things where I'm looking at Benedetta's form lines and thinking, well, how can I suggest that they're necessarily better than what Sunshine and Paris has been racing against? That's the way that I'm just trying to marry that up. So in the end, I've got Benedetta pretty much bang on $7, which is what the early price was. She's now $5, and I can't cop that. Sunshine Paris, I've got marked basically $3.50. That's probably a touch aggressive, but at the same time, I'm looking at the rest of the field, and I don't really know where the main challenge is. If for whatever reason the rail is the place to be, I'm having something small on Jetabil, Rob's old mate. Who has just a different form line. It's probably a weaker form line, but still been pretty good all the same. And I like that Tyler Schiller's jumped back on board there. And at big odds, something tiny on Hidden Wealth as well, which has got some good heavy track figures. Similar SP to Jetabil, and Tommy Berry's back on, which is a good push for that horse, just in terms of their association. So main play, Sunshine Paris, small Jetabil, and Hidden Wealth. This way I'm looking at the Doomben 10,000.
John, what's your views on this year's Doomben 10,000?
Thought it was a fairly average edition. I didn't get too excited by it, but probably agree with Pete, Sunshine in Paris. If you just briefly have a look at its heavy runs, obviously 2 for nothing, but as Pete mentioned, she wasn't beaten far, and they were much better races than this. The one I thought, coming from a sort of left field angle, was Hidden Wealth. Drew barrier 15 last start in the Victory Stakes, was well beaten but was wide throughout. Started 650 on that occasion. Was probably, apart from Jetabil, was the shortest runner coming through that race to this race. Goes from outside barrier to inside barrier. Loves the heavy track. It won by 3.5 lengths at Doomben on a heavy 10 back in November. It's won 9 from 18. Tommy Berry on. Thought that was worth a chance at, I think it was about $21. And the other one I thought, coming out of that same race, was Rothfire, who obviously he's getting on a bit now. He won't mind too much the heavy track, I don't think, and he has to do a bit of work from the outside, but he was a massive price. And I didn't think he was too bad in that last race. He just sort of weakened out right at the end, but yeah, just at absolutely massive odds. But I'd probably play Sunshine in Paris with a little bit Hidden Wealth and a tinier bet on Rothfire.
Rob, any views of this year's Doomben 10,000 outside of each way all day Jetabil?
Oh, mate, I think I'm going to have to let him go. I don't trust him on the very heavy track. I think no one said it. Mazu seems pretty obvious here. If the track is genuinely heavy, he's maybe come off a little bit, but he's a proper Group 1 sprinter who's suited by a heavy track, and he's 15s into 10s. In my head, he's 5s. I agree with Pete. I think Sunshine in Paris is A. She's coming out of the A1 races in Sydney. So yeah, that'll be my way to see it. Jetabil, it'll just send me around the bend if it does knock me off, because last week, shout out Lindsay, he had him for the captain's pick for a good unit result, and somehow got beaten. Going back to the inside, that's racing.
Yeah, my thoughts here this year's Doomben 10,000 is Overpass. I'm against it, but not laying it, just respecting it a little bit, Pete. So not with it at all. If it went to 750, I'd be 8. I hate Swartz. I always have, and I will stick to that until this horse goes to the stud. It's only got me once, and it was completely blessed when it did. I think you can have sort of half a unit on Mazu. It's a big price. It wants wet ground. It's going to get wet ground. It's got a barrier that it sort of has to be ridden aggressively, which I think suits. V8 fresh, yuck. Desert Lightning, no. Rothfire's map's too poor for it, and I don't think it wants the ground that it's going to get. Golden Mile, I couldn't find anything to sort of push you into it. Zarastro, if it gets out to 100 to 1, you need to have it on your team. It could well drift that far. Liberated, I think, will drift, but I think it's too short. I think Jetabil's overs. I think it's going to get a suck little run. It loves this track. Wet ground, sweet. It had a really nice SP and excuses, I thought, last start. I really respect Sunshine in Paris, but I'm not convinced it wants the ground it's going to get, and I don't like its map, even though it's J-Mac, and so I'm paying a tax for a map I don't like. I think Hidden Wealth is massive overs, and will be the biggest result for me in the race. It's got a significant PB. Now, this PB might be a myth pistol, but it's this track and trip, and it's on a heavy 10, as John articulated. Very well, John, on fire. Benedetta, I can't get near the price. I think she's just going to get hammered by the kickback and hammered by horses that don't go. The bigger this field is, the worse her chances are. And Lady Laguna, I think swims. I think gets one of the greatest jockey switches all time, Zara on. You're getting a really fair price for the map you're going to have to cop, but you got Mark Zara and you'll have J-Mac and everyone sort of steering him into the right places anyway. I'm going to back 4 horses and spend about 2 units in this race. That's Mazu, Jetabil, Hidden Wealth, and Lady Laguna. Boys, should we now head to Flemington? We're going to do race 4, the K.A. Morrison Handicap, 400-metre race for the 3-year-olds. We picked this race out because there's 2 Kiwis that have... One of them's come and gone. The other one is first up, I think, in Australia, but we'll get all that information and everything else about them from John. Here's my speed map. As it stands, I think this is high pressure, nice and messy. Probably the horses that are going to get the runs of the race is the favourite, Calcalo, who's been backed overnight, unfortunately. Ruda Royal's going to be thereabouts. The rest of them, you're kind of hoping and dreaming where they might end up. It's a very, very busy speed map. Who wants to take it away here in race 4 at Flemington?
Super Photon, the one that's one of the Kiwis, had it as a captain's pick. Rob, you might remember it there at Trentham first up. It just fell and it was very scary watching, but it did get there. Then it went to Tarapa and failed. Same race as Yaldi. They both went to the same race. Super Photon started $7 and Yaldi started heavily backed $4. And for whatever reason, they both really failed. They were both very poor. It was very bizarre sort of circumstances. Super Photon bounced back straight away, won at Tarapa. It was a good, strong win. And Yaldi ran in what I'd say is a stronger race. Was wide throughout, coming from the back, and was only beaten 3.2. Yaldi's a massive price here. What were they? They were
$41. Was
41
about, just before we recorded.
Yeah, and Super Photon 26. I'd love to. I would definitely recommend a small bet on Yaldi. What he does from barrier 3, if you said there's high pressure, that's probably a little bit of a spooky. Like, he has jumped and sat positive before, but if there's a fair bit of speed, he probably gets into a bit of a tricky spot. But he's a horse with plenty of talent. He's got plenty of quirks. But if the real one showed up, it wouldn't surprise me to see him give it a bit of a shake. He's a horse with plenty of talent, but depends which one shows up. But that's the way I'd side of the 2 Kiwis.
There's only 2 gear changes this race. It's both these horses. The top weight Super Photon's gelded.
I think those are old.
This is like the Racing Australia nonsense that we have to put up with international horses coming across, and they're basically suggesting that there's gear changes. Like, this horse hasn't been gelded. It's been a gelding for probably its entire career, and it's just a quirk of the system. Like, it's a complete disgrace that we haven't sorted this out in 2025. End rant.
That is a disgrace. What about blinkers on? So this horse races in blinkers normally.
It has raced in blinkers before, yeah.
Last start, blinkers were on.
Yes, I believe so, yeah. I'll double check that, but I think so.
What about how they I was thinking about this last night, how this white Kiwi stuff, Wiramu Pin came over and just rode in races for like 6 months with claim, and then they just decided, we might change that. Like that's like trying to play like fucking backyard cricket with my son.
What was that thing he won
Just
on?
like change the rules on the run. What?
They turned it over. What was that in the?
It's one of Bob's horses, wasn't it?
No, wasn't it one of the shake red maroon?
What ended up happening was you got disqualified, right? So we might have won like a benchmark 84 and gone up to an 88 rater or a 90 rater, and then they disqualified us. So we went back to like an 80 rater, and we kept the prize money. So Billy Pin's like a god to these people. And then they paid the prize money, I'm assuming, out to the second horse as well. And it probably got the ratings points. I don't know what happened, but an absolute shit fight. Anyway.
Yaldi did wear blinkers, has worn blinkers, not throughout its career, but definitely has in the past.
Well, that one shits me. The gelding doesn't really worry me. I agree with you about its map. And the fact that the blinkers, I thought, were going on encouraged me to have more of an opinion of this horse. I think from barrier 3, like he'll end up sort of tagging the other bloke, and they'll be just midfield or worse. It's a very, very busy race, so I don't stress a heap about the map. They're inside draws. They should get decent runs, and they're at price points that I don't think you need to panic about any of it. I thought they were both very good prices and interesting. The top weight Super Fonton SP $2 versus Savage Lee that ran second to Feroce in the Australian Guineas and started $11. And then this Yaldi that's got a $12 SP versus Damask Rose that beat Evaporate, which we know is grouse form. And before that, when it was in Australia, it started $21 versus Growing Empire. So at $41, I don't think just bet responsibly. Gamble responsibly. No Strings Attached was a horse that raced at Caulfield and started 270 versus 250 Calcalo. No Strings Attached, my mail is felt the ground badly on that really firm Caulfield track. That's the day we scratched Windstorm, John.
Mm-hmm.
It gets a 3 kilo swing on Calcalo. It's drawn tricky though in a bigger field. But with a 3 kilo swing and ground that it didn't appreciate, you can see that horse well and truly bouncing back if it's not, half hurt off that run. I thought Ruda Royal was blessed that same race. Daggers has got this weird, interesting out wide bit of Adelaide form through it. It's got $17 SP versus Reserve Bank and $8 SP versus Alabama Lass, white Kiwi stuff. It's really, really good form. It's 1200 metre form. I think this horse wants every bit of 1400 though, and I think it's well and truly right around the right price. If it drifts, I'll be with it. Calcalo was enormous last start. The closing splits at a distance range at Caulfield that I trust are elite. With the potential weather forecast though, we're dealing with a very different situation and a completely different track, going from a firm Caulfield to a cold and wet Flemington big long straight. I am sort of glad, Pete, that they backed this horse, because I've sent a few bets in this race and I probably would have had to back this horse at sort of $4.60, $4.80. Now at $4, I'm happy to sort of just sit on the fence for a while. The next few don't really interest me a lot. The horse that does is the 14 From a Distance. This horse was not suited badly at the Bull, was well backed and right in the market, and savaged it Charlie Sheen style, like really hit the line hard. Nice jockey switch. I think it does go forward here, and I think it should be closer to $10.20, and I've taken 18s. And then this horse it's as bad a map as maps get, but it gets in with 51 kilos. I like the form. I think it's got good upside. I love Logan Bates going on, especially to a horse where you look at the map and you know you're fucked, so there's no pressure on him. He can just ride the horse, and that's the 15 Taken. I think it's much more of a sort of $10, $9 chance than a $12, $14, $15 chance. I'm going to back those 4 horses. That's the 1 Super Fonton, the 4 Yaldi, and then the 14, the 15 From a Distance and Taken. That's how I am playing the the whatever it's called, which is race 4 at Flemington, a 400 metre race for 3-year-olds. What should we do now? We've got to go around the grounds, but before we do that, Jono, I was away yesterday and Jono just went rogue on the English Digital, and he's bought the half brother to Giga Kick.
3/4 brother, don't sell him short.
3/4 brother to Giga Kick, and he's decided to send it to Adelaide to be trained by Michael Hickmott. Jono, why'd you pay for it? Why'd you like it? And what's the plan ahead? And most importantly, how can people get in touch to find out more and potentially race the 3/4 to Giga Kick with yourself and I and the boys at the Mailbag?
He'll be off to South Australia over the next couple of days. We paid $37.5 for him. As you mentioned, 3/4 brother to Giga Kick. He's shown good ability already in his lightly race career. Rob, you might have actually seen him. He raced at Rosehill on a midweek program. He finished 4th behind AA or II captain Diddle Dumpling, Strand Beauty. So there was 8 horses out of that race that have raced since. 7 of them are won, so it's been a really strong race there out of Rosehill. He then went to Mornington, and Jack, you'll be able to talk about this, but he won by almost 3.5 lengths, producing a really good figure. But yeah, 37,500. Thought he was very good buying, and heads to Michael Hickmott, South Australia, who we will have our first runner on Saturday for him. But been very impressed by his processes, and if you see his video on his website of his private training facility there, it's a very impressive location for horses to be trained.
Couple of points. The runner tomorrow or Saturday in Adelaide is Cruise Missile. It's a kick-off run.
But look for him when he gets to a mile at his next start after that.
That's the plan. Now, this horse, in all seriousness, is a very, very simple horse to buy. You look on your punting form, if you're playing at home and you finally got it, go and compare the closing splits at Pakenham week in, week out. This thing's sub 12 the whole way home. It was very, very good. It's got a nice amount of racing ahead of it. It's a young enough horse. I'm very tempted to race this horse in Victoria, but we've lowered the jurisdiction to make his life easier and to help us recoup the purchase price quickly. Michael's got a really good relationship with Clayton Douglas, so he'll learn and know everything about the horse that we already sort of did before we bought it, but it's a great setup to sort of get that information to help him do a great job. He's going to be a lot of fun, this horse. J.O.N.O, Jono at the mailbag.com.au. Mailbag Bloodstock runners across the weekend, John. We've got Get Along and Grouse Mountain likely racing an hour apart at Cranbourne on Friday night. Get Along, Logan Bates, benchmark 70, might be 40k race. He's just about favourite. He's holding on loosely to favouritism. And then Grouse Mountain, again, Logan Bates on the quick back up. She is favourite, and she looks like she'll be hard to beat. And God bless her. What a horse. What a constitution. Full credit. At a point in time, we thought 1 or 2 run preps. No. 1 or 2 runs a month. 1 run a week, baby. She's being a glorious horse. The rating that she ran, I don't know if you do any sort of reviewing of that stuff, Pete, but the rating she ran at Cranbourne last week was a significant PB. And we'll give her 1 to 2 more runs, I'd say, this preparation before she's put out. But she's flying, and so is Get Along. And should they line up, we expect them to be very hard to beat if you want to follow along at home. Around the grounds, before we wrap up episode 299 of the Mailbag Preview Show, brought to you by Punting Form, we'll kick off with Lindsay Bowles, the Cotton King, the trial man. He's found one. Flemington, race 5, the 12. Nanya? Peter, help me out.
Niner?
Peter.
Yeah.
How are you ready for that? Come on, baby. What have we got?
What is it? Sorry, which race?
Flemington, race 5, number 12.
Nina.
It just makes you sound like a baby, eh?
Yeah.
P-Rat, the Rolls Royce. He's gone to Morpheville again. He loves Adelaide, the city of churches. Race 7, number 6, I Am Velvet. Farjack, Jack Jenkins. Doomben, race 6, number 1, Sir Velius.
That'll do. Yep.
Pistol Pete, if you couldn't pick it up in his tone earlier, Doomben race 8, number 12, Sunshine in Paris. MJ Mickey Gannon, not on this podcast but on everyone else this week. Doomben race 9, number 14, Bell to Tell, I'm going with.
Yep.
T. Papley. Scone race 6, the 4, Miss Icelandic. Ellerslie race 6 for John, number 1, Velocious. Robertos, the Horse Whisperer. Scone race 9, this horse was enormous behind Oak Hill at Caulfield last start. Rob wants wet ground, we hope he gets it. That's number 15, Fleetwood. And I wasn't sure if Butch was being serious or not when he sent this through. Full credit to him if he gets this done. Flemington race 3, first up over 1,200 metres, the 4, Cindy Falls. And I'm race 2 at Flemington, number 3, the Opportunist. That's been another edition of the Mailbag Preview Show. The OG crew, I hope you enjoyed it. I did. If you want to get your hand held at Flemington while he freezes his little fingers right off the bone, Pistol Pete will be there. He'll tell you what the horses are doing. He'll tell it to you via your phone. Themailbag.com.au. If you want to race Giga Kick's 3/4 brother with us and Michael Hickmont, J.O.N.O at themailbag.com.au. Gamble responsibly. Chances are you're about to lose. You won't lose if you go to themailbag.com.au and buy our betting advice. But if you are having a problem with gambling, 1-800-858-858 or visit the website. Have a phenomenal, outstanding weekend. Enjoy the PGA and bye for now.